week. So just wanted to pass that on. We'll talk more about that as the program unfolds. But right now, joining us in the chair here at the Element Wealth Studios from the Mississippi Trade Mart, the Mississippi Secretary of State, Michael Watson, running around there, Mr. Secretary. It's a busy day, isn't it?
Fresh off the platform, visiting with our business leaders here in the state, which is always fun for us. But, yeah, definitely busy. And as you know, legislative session's in high gear. We had a deadline day this week, which is the big deadline day, with houses, our bills originating in the other house coming to an end. So we had some activity over there that we were watching. Obviously, elections is a focus of ours. And so we had House Bill 1510 that you and I have talked about. And let me just pause real quick and say a big thank you to Speaker Gunn. That bill had some issues in the House. We were able to get it corrected and fixed and sent out of the House down to the Senate. And it dealt with three things. I want people to understand this. Voter roll maintenance, making sure that our rolls were clean, making sure that only United States citizens are voting in our elections. And then the third part was the election support fund. And so for people to understand, when you have an out-of-state LLC, they pay $250 every year to renew their registration. Those dollars go into a pot. It's called the Election Support Fund to help our counties and the state in general to run elections. That's what it's supposed to be for.
Right.
With the current breakdown, 50% of that goes to the counties. The other 50% goes to general funds, not elections. So we're trying to restructure that where 70% will go to the counties. 30% will go to our office.
Right?
That's what it's for. 30% will go to our office. And if you think about the need for additional funds, let's talk about cybersecurity for just 1 second.
Sure.
I think I don't even have to say anything else.
Right.
It's a huge issue that will continue, so we got to have funding. Okay, so those are the three things. You got voter roll maintenance, you got citizenship, making sure that all United States citizens are voting in our elections, and you got election support fund. That's how it came out of the House.
Right.
Fundamental election integrity legislation, period. It gets to the Senate. Voter roll maintenance is stripped out. It's no longer in the bill.
Saw that.
Citizenship is watered down to where it's barely recognizable, and the election support fund is ripped out as well. So we've got basically a shell of what it used to be. And Jordan, I want to be very clear here. On voter roll maintenance, this is what we did. We codified current practice in Mississippi. Nothing new, nothing crazy, nothing wild. Current practice in Mississippi. That's based on the NVRA, National Voter Rights, 1993 federal legislation. And it codifies that. And people say, oh, Michael, if you're just codifying that, what does that mean? If you don't understand the attack on elections at the federal level right now, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mississippi has to have that codified so we have something to stand on to challenge whatever comes from the federal government. That's important. That's ripped out. Gone.
Please explain to me the rationale for that. What do you know? Have you talked to the senators? Have you talked to the lieutenant governor? What are they telling you? Why is there such a difference in the position on this from the House and the Senate?
There's no answer. And I want to remind you, voter roll maintenance passed out of the Senate last year.
I do remember.
So we had to get the House on board. Well, we got the House on board.
Yep.
The House sends it back, and now it's ripped out in the Senate. So there is no explanation.
Nobody in that chamber has explained to you the rationale.
There's no factual dispute. Everybody understands what this is. And there's no policy debate of whether or not this is needed. If you don't have a defense mechanism in statute, because this is a state's issue, states should be determining how their elections are handled.
Sure.
It should be in statute. That's all we're trying to do.
Right.
I don't understand.
Well, and of course we've got a federal government that wants the federal government to control every last aspect of that.
It's exactly right. They can't get their policies through. So how do we get them done?
Right.
Well, we change election law. That's what we do to get our people elected. So
it's pretty clear that's what's going on. Well, I sense some frustration. I too feel a bit of frustration just because I'd like to know the rationale. I think that the people are entitled, and you, sir, as the Secretary of State, is having this as a major objective of your agency. You ought to know.
We've worked on this for 3 years. I am incredibly frustrated. If you can't get fundamental, basic election integrity legislation passed in a supermajority Republican legislature, something's wrong.
Agree. And our lieutenant governor, coming from the Secretary of State, he understands that, of course, and he championed voter ID in this state. And so I'm just wondering why we're falling short here. So I hesitate, and I certainly don't want to appear to sound critical or in any way condemning. Just want an explanation. That's all.
This is a softball.
Yeah, seems like it.
Period.
Yeah. I mean, on the surface it does. Now, again, maybe there's something that I don't know about. You should know about it, though.
That's right.
And you represent us in this regard.
Yeah, and we actually sat down with House Democratic leadership and walked through the bill. Now, do they love it? Of course
Right.
not. That's
Right.
that's a tough issue for them. I get
Sure.
it. But they voted no and just, okay, it's going to pass, so we're just go ahead. So even they understand it. They may not like it, but they understand what we're doing. There's no tricks. There are no tricks. It is fundamental, and we can't get that through the Senate. Something's wrong.
I'm scratching my head on that one, honestly, and I got to tell you, I know we talk about it every time we're on. I think it bears repeating. Please tell our audience about these crazy people that are registered on our voter rolls that are like 150 years old.
That's
Explain
right.
that again.
So voter roll maintenance, and this is why it's important. When we came in, there were 43 of our 82 counties that had 90% or more of the voting age population on the registered voter rolls. 7 of those 43 had 100% or more of the voting age population on the voter rolls, with the worst offender being 107%. And so, as you and I have talked, let's give a hard example of what that means.
Right.
And let me preface this. We do not have universal vote by mail
Right.
in Mississippi. But it's important to use that as an example of why this is important.
Exactly.
Should the federal government push that on us?
Yes.
So if you've got this county with 107%, the way you should break that down is, okay, I've got a County X. County X has 100 people. But the registered voter rolls say County X has 107 people.
Right.
So you've got 7 additional ballots that are going to be sent out in mailboxes. And as you know, we like to help people here in Mississippi. We're helpful folks. So if Sally knows that Larry
Right.
passed away, but Larry still has a ballot in his mailbox, Sally can go vote for Larry. And it's absolutely hard to catch that because he was a registered voter.
And the accompanying ballot harvesting, which is
That's exactly right.
unbelievably as it may be, is encouraged by the Democrats. They want to put it in law.
That's right.
As a matter of fact.
So having clean voter rolls is paramount. It's so important.
Starting point.
And I don't care if you're for tax cuts against tax cuts.
Yeah.
If you're for public education against public education. If your policy doesn't matter if you can't have free, fair, safe, and secure elections. Because you'll just change the election next time and get somebody in to change the policy.
That's exactly right.
It is
completely
foundational, fundamental, something we've got to address.
Well, I apologize for asking you to share those examples every time you come on, but I think it's important because I think it illustrates just how needed these policies are, these statutes are.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that we have tried to do and will continue to do is educate the public on the process. Knowledge is power. And when you understand how it's supposed to work based on statute and law, you can enter debates and talk about public policy and what we need to do as a state. So as we go around the state, we always try to educate individuals understanding what the issue is, why is it important, how do we need to change it.
Well, you know, my concern, I know it's yours as well, is that if we don't get something in writing in our statutes, should the federal government push through and ram through all this radical voting rights legislation that even the president talked about in the State of the Union address. Get that done now. My concern is that it dilutes our case. And I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like it dilutes it because, we don't have any case.
That's right. There are times when you must be preventative. This is one of them.
It makes total sense to me, and I'm concerned that we can't seem to get this over the finish line. It just seems like a no-brainer. A softball, as you described it, Mr. Secretary.
We'll keep talking about it.
Secretary of State Michael Watson has been our guest here on Middays. We appreciate you joining us. We're down at the Mississippi Trade Mart, the Element Well Studios right here in the Mississippi Trade Mart atrium. We'll come back with more after this break.